All right, guys, let's get back to the gold and silver. I'm going to do one video tonight, and we'll see where it goes from there. This is actually from, see if I get this right, DZ Hang Hella Flush. Interesting long name. Sent me a message the other day, and I actually thought this would be a good thing to talk about, and some people might be wondering about this. Short little question. If the stock market crashes, will silver and gold physical market go up or down, and why? How high do you see the Dow going up before crashing? All right. What I really think would happen is if the stock market does crash, the first thing that you're going to see as far as gold and silver is concerned is because it's a paper price that you see, you're going to see the paper price go down. Now, you'll see the physical price go down with it, but what I feel is the lower the paper price will get, the more separation will start to occur. So, if a stock market crashes, things like the SLV and the GLD could potentially go down to zero because it's based on manipulated paper market. So I think if the paper price got below 15, I really think at that point you'll start seeing a big separation between the paper price and the physical price because obviously nobody is going to sell a silver coin for zero if the SLV went down to zero. So I really think at a certain point you will see a separation, but I think in an initial stock market crash, people that don't really know what's going on will react in a panic mode because like I've told people all the time, don't base things on emotion because when you do, you don't process information the best way. So when you see an initial stock market crash, you'll see the paper price start going down. Now, of course, the physical price, as you see, will follow, but it won't follow it all the way down. I really think if the SLV got down to, like I said, around $15 or so, that's when you're going to see a total separation between the paper price and the physical price. So while the paper price gets destroyed, you'll see more and more people buying the actual physical metal. So you might see a little drop at first, but it will recover quickly, and you'll see that's when the gold and silver, once that separation occurs, that's when you'll see the physical gold and silver really bringing in the higher numbers. But keep in mind, that's based on a dollar. And we see how the dollar is being printed to infinity, basically. So you can't really base it on dollars at this point because we don't know if there'll be a gold backs dollar or the yuan will take over as the world currency. So it will be hard to see what the value is. But the beautiful thing about physical gold and silver is you could trade it all around the world. So you'll get whatever currency is in that particular time period anywhere in the world. So as far as how high I think the Dow Jones would go, I mean, that really depends on how long they can keep the manipulation going. I mean, obviously, we know the stock market is not really based on integrity and based on real numbers. It's not even factoring in inflation, plus the fact that back in 2008, before the crash happened, we were at around 14,000 in the Dow. So all that time it took just to get back and just a little bit past it, they're not really focusing on the fact that, it took all those years just to get even again. So because of the government pumping all this money into the Dow Jones to make this illusion of a economy that's on the recovery, to me suggests that it can't go much higher. Um, I think it could go as high as maybe up to 20,000, but I don't think it would go higher than that. I think it would probably crash down before that point, but I think once it got anywhere near that level, I would be very careful. And I mean, like I've always said about with a bubble, think about blowing a balloon. Now, if you blow into a balloon, eventually, if you continue to blow air into it, it's going to pop. But you'll never know the exact moment of when that's going to happen. So when you first blow into it, you have plenty of time to continue to pump air into that balloon. But once you start getting to that point where you think it's stretching and you're not sure when it's going to go, you're going to be more careful at that point. But you know it's going to happen, but you don't know exactly when it's going to happen. And that's why when people say things like, oh, there's going to be a stock market crash or there's going to be hyperinflation or deflation or whatever, no one can come up with an exact time period or an exact second or date because you never know what's going to happen. But if they continue to do what they're doing, and that's pumping money into the system, and all countries around the world are doing the exact same thing, it's just a matter of time that it does happen. Because as you see, prices rise not because of the fact that the items that you're buying are worth more. It's the fact that the value of the dollar, the won, the euro, whatever currency you're using, is being devalued because they're adding so much of it. So how long can they keep that going? Because remember, when I was a kid, back in the 70s, you could buy a candy bar, which was probably 2.5 times the size that you see them now, for 25 cents. You could get a gallon of gasoline for about 30 to 40 cents. A pack of cigarettes was about 30 cents. So look at the difference between how things are now and how they were back then, and how the size of things, like, for example, food, are diminishing, just to kind of give that illusion that even though the prices may not have gone up too much, you're getting less product. So it cannot go on forever because we can't have a $10,000 candy bar. So it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. And that's why, in my humble opinion, owning physical metals is the best way to go for the future for when this decides to happen. Now, obviously, like I said, I don't have a crystal ball. No one does. So we can't tell when that's going to happen. And that's why I say think long term and be patient with this. And the reason that the media and the government and the banks, they all want you to have emotion is because they want you to do the exact opposite of what you should do. And that is buying low and selling high. But if you notice, and we can notice this about Bitcoins, use that as a prime example. For the past year, Bitcoins were dead. They were under $10, and you notice no one was really talking about it. There was no buzz. It wasn't until it beat that record high that all of a sudden everybody was on this Bitcoin bandwagon. And you saw how quickly it rose. And that's when people were buying. Because the majority of people that were into Bitcoins, and you could see it on YouTube, and I was watching it the whole time, that people weren't really having a frenzy about it until after it hit after the $40 mark. So that whole year, year and a half where it was below 10 is when people should have bought in. But because of the fact that there's no emotion involved, because no one was talking about it, people like Max Kaiser and others bought in at that bottom, created an eventual frenzy, and that's when people started buying in. It got higher and higher and higher to the point where it got up to about $266 and then crashed. And I guarantee you the people that bought at the bottom waited until around the peak, sold out, and then when you saw the crash, I guarantee you they probably bought it all back up again. But that's what they want you to do. So that's why the people who don't like physical gold and silver right now should really think about that, because it's at a low point. Now, it could get a little bit lower. I mean, right now we're seeing gold at about a minus 11 from when the market opened at 1437. Silver is only down about 10 cents. But you're talking lows that I haven't seen since 2007, 2008. So the people that may not think this is a good idea might want to think twice about that, because you want to buy low. And that's where I made the mistake when I first started doing this, because I wasn't aware of the manipulation. I wasn't aware of all the emotion that's put into it. So I was saying how you could buy at any price, and that was a great deal. Now, I know a lot more than I did then. I don't regret my decisions, because I know in the long term, if there is a collapse in the economy or the dollar loses its purchasing power, well, we're going to be glad that we had any precious metals. And 99% of the world doesn't have that protection right now. But I can almost guarantee you, if silver ever hits past that $50 mark, you're going to see it all over the news. And you're going to see every Tom, Dick, and Harry going to try and buy it. So I understand that it can be frustrating. I can understand where people could say, oh, look, it dropped. It's a bad deal. But, remember Bitcoins, for example. It got up to 30 at one point a year and a half ago and then crashed. And then for a year, it stayed dormant. That was the right time to buy. Most of us didn't do that. But we all live and we learn. So that's why I really believe that gold and silver will have its day sometime in the next year or two, maybe 3 years, maybe 5 years. I don't think it'll take that long, but if you think about it in the grand scheme of things, if you can have an investment that could protect your wealth, and it only took you, let's say, a maximum of 5 years, is it really that long? I mean, if you're 90, 95, then yeah, it might be not a good thing to invest in. But honestly, if you're that old, you're not really worried about it anyway. So that's all I have to say about it. You can agree, you can disagree. That's up to you. The only thing I ask is just be respectful. If you think that gold and silver is a great investment, then you do what you think is right. If you think it's a mistake, well, I guess time will tell. And just like what happened with the Bitcoins when they crashed, all the people that were talking about how wonderful it was on the way up disappeared or started hating it on the way down. And it's the same thing what's happening with physical gold and silver. When I was making videos when it was between 45 up to almost 50, there was nothing but love for gold and silver, even from some of the people that were saying things about me. Now that it's crashed, and at this point going from about 50 down to under 25, I can say that's a long-term crash. People are hating it because they feel like they've lost money. And I guarantee you the majority of those people had the paper price. They bought the SLV, they bought the GLD. They didn't have the stops, and they probably lost a lot of money. But when you own the physical, unless you sell it, you don't lose anything. And it's not going to stay this way forever, in my opinion. And if I'm wrong, I took the chance. I don't regret when I make a decision and stick with it. So you have to stick to your guns. Because if you're in this just to make money, and you're looking for short-term gain, then you're in the wrong place. Physical gold and silver is not the way to go if you're looking for short-term profit. So what you do is up to you. You decide what you should do and what you shouldn't do, and that means taking responsibility, even if you took the time to just listen to one or two people. You formulate your own opinion, and be proud of it. Stick with it. Don't second guess it, even if it doesn't always work out at the exact moment you wanted it to. We all live and learn. All right, guys. The kind words that people left for me is the reason why I'm making this video right now. I don't believe at this point I'm going to go back into a daily routine, but I want to at least make one video for you guys. So thanks for watching. I hope it answers some questions, and enjoy the rest of your night. I'm going to enjoy mine. Peace.